You want a war? You're going to get one. If it wasn't already a war with WWF and WCW, we get a huge metaphor for the WCW WWF war with the start of the NWO. And it all starts with a guy named Scott Hall, who doesn't even go by Scott Hall, just shows up at Nitro during a random match, a random night, just on the build to the Great American Bash, a random pay-per-view. And the randomness of it all makes it that much better. This show was the 34th week WCW and WWF went head-to-head on Monday night. It was the 37th episode of Nitro, but the 34th week they went head-to-head. May 27th, 1996, Nitro ended up winning the night with a 2.8 rating. Raw got a 2.3. So through 34 weeks, Nitro has 16 wins, Raw has 16 wins, and 2 draws. Completely tied at this point. It's almost prophetic how close it's been and how it's a war. This Nitro that had a 2.8 was commentated by Tony Schiavone and the living legend Larry Zbyszko for the first hour, and then Eric Bischoff and Bobby Heenan for the second hour. And that feels like a new era because it's the first 2-hour episode of Nitro. And it's also the first Nitro where we have 2 sets of broadcasters. The Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson and Ric Flair, with Miss Elizabeth and Woman, take on the All-American Males, Marcus Alexander, Bagwell, and Scotty Riggs to begin. This was a great tag team match. It went back and forth. Bagwell gets the hot tag after the Horsemen just isolated Scotty Riggs in their corner and in their part of the ring throughout the beginning of the match, double teaming him. In the end, Woman gouged the eyes of Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Arn hit a DDT. Flair then covered him for the victory at 12:59 as the Horsemen win the match. I rated it 3 stars. It was a good one. Flair after the match said, "Skyrockets at night, afternoon delight," as he danced around with Savage's old woman, still spending Savage's money. Speaking of Savage, they're saying that he's living out in the bushes right now. Not really, but he can't go to the arena as he's been banned from ringside. So they show a big video package on that. They show a video package of where Hulk Hogan's been with all the celebrities, but they just say that Hogan's been watching Nitro and he'll be back soon. Then they show a video package of Kevin Green and Steve McMichael training in the gym for their match with the Horsemen at the Great American Bash. Then they have a match called Steve Dahl versus the Mauler with Colonel Robert Parker. This is the match where Scott Hall shows up. These 2 guys go at it. It goes to a commercial break. They come back from the commercial break, and a guy that looks a lot like Razor Ramon, but in a denim jean vest, comes down, and jeans, and he comes down the steps over the guardrail into the ring with a microphone, and he says, "You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here." I can't do an impression of him. He says, "I go wherever I want, when I want. Some people can't even get in the building." He's referring to Macho Man, who's banned from the building. That part of the promo finally makes sense now that I'm watching these Nitros back. I always wondered what he meant. That guy can't get in the building. I always wondered what that part meant. But Macho Man's banned from the building, so that's what he's talking about. You want a war, you're going to get one. And the fans have no idea what to make of it. And instead of replaying that, and the match ended up in a no contest between, if anyone cares, between the Mauler and Steve Dahl. It ended up a no contest because of the promo. But instead of replaying that and talking about it like being in awe, Bischoff just went to the next match and ignored it until the end of the show. To get over how real it was and saying that this isn't a part of the show, that kind of thing. They said we weren't even. He did make a comment. He said that guy. We're not going to replay his comments. But if he wants to make a challenge, we're going to let him at the end of the show. That's basically what Bischoff says throughout the show a couple times. If he wanted to milk it, he could have replayed it over and over, but he didn't. Sergeant Craig Pittman with Teddy Long takes on DDP. DDP wins with a diamond cutter out of nowhere at 3:01. I rated it 1.25 stars. Hour number 2 begins. The pyro goes off, and Eric Bischoff welcomes us. Heenan and Bischoff are now back on commentary. Bischoff says he's not going to dignify the earlier interruption with a response, but if the challenge was wanted to be made, he can allow that. We're not going to cut to him. We're going to let him wait till the end of the night. Let him wait till the end of the night. That's when it's most important. Back then in the Attitude Era, anyway, it was the third hour the second hour. The top of the night is the main attraction. That's what used to get the biggest rating. So saying we're gonna make him wait till the end of the night if he wants to challenge us is kind of funny. The Giant, because it's the biggest spot of the night. The Giant with Jimmy Hart takes on the Shark for the world title. The Giant defending his title. Shark gets a boot and then out of the corner, he bounces into the turnbuckle, and the Giant chokeslams him for the win at 401. Rated at 3/4 of a star. They have the Shark after the match. Bug Bubba Rogers comes out and shaves his head bald. Lex Luger takes on Max. Max is this big dude, and Luger gets him in the torture rack on his second attempt. And Luger retains the TV title at 5:45, or rated at 1.5 stars. Luger says that he wants to take on nothing but big guys until he meets the Giant at the Great American Bash to get him ready for another Giant. Brad Armstrong takes on Hard Work Bobby Walker. This is a cruiserweight bout. They bring up Rey Mysterio Jr. for the first time on Nitro about how he's going to have a match with Malenko at the Great American Bash. And what a great match that was. That's a 4.5-star classic. Brad Armstrong backslides Walker, gets a 2, a back body drop by Walker. Then out of the corner, he fell off the rope, and the fans laughed as he botched that. But then he hit a cross body after that, and he got the win. Did Hard Work Bobby Walker at just a few minutes. Rated a 1.75 stars. Then we had a really good hard-fought match between Lord Steven Regal with Jeeves and Alex Wright. Wright and Regal both exchange wristlock takeovers, test of strength. Both men athletic and showing what they're capable of. Monkey flips, 2 hurricanranas, standing switches, crossbodies, suplexes, overhead belly-to-belly suplexes, stiff shots, STF holds, big uppercut by Regal, the southpaw. Regal and Wright both with inside cradles. At 10:18, Lord Steven Regal gets the victory after reversing a monkey flip and then hooking a back bridge, hooking the legs. Really good match. I rated it at 3 stars. It was great in parts, awkward in others. All in all, a really good match. Mean Gene speaks with Regal, who says it's about bloody time that he has some say in what's going on around here. Then we got Scott Steiner take on Sting. Scott Steiner comes out for a rare singles match. Maybe the first singles match in his career on Nitro. I can't remember another one, so it's possible. Just as I say that, Heenan points that out on commentary. A side headlock into his shoulder tackle attempt, but it Sting's dropkick that grounds Steiner. He then flips back into Scott, laying it to the floor. Sting over the top rope to the floor. A pump handle slam by Steiner. Steiner then with a belly-to-belly suplex. Sting kicks out. Scott Steiner with a near fall. Steiner with an STF onto Sting. Steiner with a step over crossface, as Bischoff explains what that is. Scott Steiner with a body scissors, and then an armbar to Sting. Sting comes back with a Stinger splash in the corner, and then tries it a second time, but Scott Steiner moves out of the way. Then hits a dragon suplex for a 2 count, close near fall. Luger comes to the ring, and then Rick Steiner comes to the ring at the same time to even out the odds. Sting goes for a pile driver, but it's reversed by the Stinger, who gets a 2 count after the pile driver of his own. Scott Steiner kicks out, a body splash, and his knees are up on Sting. It's been a great match. Sting suplexes Scott Steiner to the floor, and on the floor, Luger helped out Scott as the bell rings as a double disqualification. I gave that match 3.25 stars. The crowd reacting as both teams go at it, and now a lot of the WCW locker room clear out, as half of them are on Sting's side, the other half are there for Scott Steiner. Now the ring bell goes off 50,000 times. Thankfully, it only does it a few times this time. Usually it goes off 50,000 times. So there's mayhem at the end of the night between both these teams. The show ends off with Bischoff on the commentary table there, and Scott Hall walks up, and he goes, hey, you wanted to challenge, what's going on? And then Hall grabs the mic, and he goes, we are sick of it. And Bischoff goes, who's we? Scott Hall says, tell billionaire Ted to get his 3 best men. Maybe it's the Macho Man. Maybe it's Sting. And then he goes, pfft. He's acting like he's not a part of WCW, even though he's on the show. And Bischoff is saying, you're history. You're out of here. And then Hall says, it doesn't matter because we are taking over. And Bischoff goes, who's we? So far we don't know who we is. And he says, get your 3 best men ready. So Scott Hall obviously has 2 other men. And what's his name? Is he even Scott Hall? That's the question, the cliffhanger they left for the next Nitro. This Nitro won 2.8 to 2.3. I rated it a quality rating of a 7.5 out of 10. The Scott Hall debut was done masterfully, and it leaves a big cliffhanger, and it's all uphill for WCW coming up with their future war with the New World Order, thanks to Scott Hall's appearance on the night. If you're enjoying the Monday Night Wars, hit like and subscribe. This has been a great episode of Nitro, and they're only going to get better from here on out with the build from Hall and the NWO. I'm Rhett Mix. We'll see you on the next Nitro review, and I'm out.